Once in a faraway kingdom, there lived a witch who harbored a dark ambition. This witch, known as Merwen, was cunning and power-hungry. She had heard of the vast wealth of a distant king and decided that she would stop at nothing to claim it for herself. The king's riches were legendary, and Merwen knew that the only way to access them was to infiltrate the royal palace. She cast a spell that cloaked her presence and made her unrecognizable. In the guise of an innocent, humble maid, she entered the grand palace and offered her services to the queen, who was known for her kindness and grace. Over time, the queen, a woman of great wisdom and beauty, welcomed Merwen into her household. The witch slowly gained the queen's trust, and with every passing day, she waved her magic more skillfully. It began with small spells, charming the queen's food to make her feel more energetic, casting spells of good fortune, and offering advice that seemed to always work in the queen's favor. But little did the queen know Merwen was using her magic for darker purposes. Slowly, day by day, the witch increased the strength of her spells, making the queen weaker and weaker. She poisoned the queen's body with slow-acting curses, spells that clouded her mind and drained her energy. It wasn't long before the once strong and vibrant queen fell ill. One cold morning, the queen passed away, her once bright eyes now closed forever. The entire kingdom mourned her death, but no one suspected foul play. The princess, the queen's only daughter, was utterly heartbroken. She had been very close to her mother and could not understand why such a tragedy had befallen them. She cried for days on end, her tears soaking the palace floors. The pain of losing her mother was unbearable. Each night, the princess would cry herself to sleep, and each day the weight of grief grew heavier. The sound of her sobbing echoed through the palace, reaching the ears of a kind fairy named Leora. Leora had been passing by the kingdom that fateful night, and the sorrowful cries of the princess tugged at her heart. She decided to approach the palace, her wings shimmering faintly in the moonlight as she hovered outside the castle walls. As she approached the princess' window, Leora heard the sobs growing louder, more desperate. The fairy's heart ached for the young girl. Determined to offer comfort, Leora entered the princess' room, where she found the princess weeping uncontrollably on her bed. The fairy landed gently beside her and spoke softly. "Why do you cry, dear child? Your sorrow weighs so heavily on the air. I can hardly bear it." The princess looked up, startled by the unexpected visitor. She wiped her eyes and replied through her tears, "I cry for my mother. She was taken from us too soon. I don't know how to live without her." Leora's heart filled with sympathy as she gazed at the princess. But then something caught her attention. There was a dark energy in the air, a heaviness that was more than just the grief of a child. Leora could sense it, an evil presence lurking beneath the surface. The fairy's gentle eyes narrowed as she searched the palace for the source of this malevolent force. After a moment of silence, Leora spoke again. I am sorry for your loss, but there is something more at play here. There is a darkness in your home, a poison that seeps through the walls of your castle. Someone, something is behind your mother's death. The princess, alarmed, sat up. What do you mean? Who would do such a thing? Leora hesitated for a moment, her wings fluttering nervously. I fear that the one responsible is a witch, a wicked sorceress who has infiltrated your palace under the guise of a servant. Her name is Morwen, and she has used dark magic to bring about your mother's demise. The princess gasped, her heart racing. But why? What does she want? She seeks power, Leora replied gravely. She wants the king's wealth and she will stop at nothing to gain it. She has already cast spells on your father to weaken him, making him vulnerable to her influence. If you do not act quickly, she will destroy everything you hold dear. The prince's heart sank. But what can I do? I am powerless against such evil. Leora placed a gentle hand on the prince's shoulder. There is hope. I can help you, but you must be willing to take a dangerous path. If you confront Morwen now, she may kill you and your father. But if you trust me, I can guide you to gain the power you need to stop her. The princess looked at Leora with desperation in her eyes. Please help me. I cannot let her destroy everything. Leora nodded, her expression softening. Very well, come with me. We must leave the palace for a while and seek the counsel of a kind wizard who lives deep within the forest. He can help you unlock the magic within you. The princess, though scared, felt a sense of determination rise within her. She stood up, wiping her tears, and followed the fairy out of the palace. They journeyed through the dense woods, the trees thick and towering, until they reached a small, humble hut. Inside, an old wizard named Eldren awaited them. He was wise and kind-hearted, with long silver hair and a gentle smile. He greeted the princess warmly, though he could sense the fear in her heart. Leora and Eldren spoke for a while outside the hut, their conversation too quiet for the princess to hear. She sat alone, feeling both nervous and hopeful. Hours passed before Eldren returned, his face solemn. The fairy was nowhere to be seen. Where is Leora? The princess asked, her voice trembling. The wizard's eyes flickered briefly, but he smiled gently. She has gone for a while, but she has left you something very important. He handed her a small vial of pink liquid, the contents swirling mysteriously inside. This potion will grant you great power, Eldren explained. But be careful, it is not without risk. Drink it and you will gain the abilities to fight the witch, but you must be prepared for what comes next. Without hesitation, the princess took the vial and drank the liquid in one gulp. The moment it touched her lips, she felt a strange warmth flowed in her body, and a tingling sensation spread from her chest to her fingertips. Her vision blurred for a moment, but when it cleared, she could feel a newfound strength coursing through her veins. The next day, she woke up to a world that felt different, stronger. She felt the magic inside her, as though it had always been there, waiting to be unlocked. But it was still not enough. She needed more training, more knowledge. So, for the next several months, Eldren taught her the ancient arts of magic and witchcraft. The princess studied diligently, her powers growing with every lesson. One fateful day, as the princess practiced in the woods, word came from the palace. The king was remarrying, and the princess' heart sank as she learned the bride was none other than the evil witch Morwen. Without wasting a moment, the princess rushed back to the palace, determined to stop Morwen before it was too late. She snuck into the castle disguised as a guest and went straight to her father's chambers. There she found the king lying weakly in his bed, his face pale and frail. Morwen stood at his side, a cruel smile on her lips. The princess' anger flared. She knew that the witch had been draining her father's strength to ensure his compliance. But she could not act yet. She had to wait for the right moment. Finally, the ceremony began. As the king stood to marry the witch, the princess burst into the hall. The guests gasped, but the princess ignored them and confronted Morwen. "I know what you have done," the princess said, her voice steady. "You killed my mother, and now you seek to destroy my father." Morwen laughed, a cruel, mocking laugh. "You are too late, little girl. Your father is already mine, and as for your mother, well, she was simply a casualty in my rise to power." The princess clenched her fists. "I will not let you destroy anyone else." With that, she raised her hand, and magic erupted from her fingertips. The witch, taken by surprise, tried to counter the spell, but the princess' power was too great. A fierce battle ensued, their magic clashing in the air like lightning. The witch struggled, realizing too late how powerful the princess had become. "You are a strong little princess," Morwen sneered, "but you don't understand. The only way to gain true magical power is by killing a fairy and stealing their magic. So, you're a killer and also a thief, just like me." The princess' heart stopped. She remembered Leora, the fairy who had helped her. The truth sank in like a stone in her stomach. But then the anger took over. She wouldn't let Leora's sacrifice be in vain. Also, her mother's death. With a surge of fury, the princess charged at Morwen, unleashing every ounce of magic she had learned. The witch, weakened by the princess' relentless attacks, could not keep up. The princess' anger was stronger than her greed. In a final burst of energy, the princess struck the witch with a powerful spell. Morwen screamed as her body dissolved into green smoke, her evil vanishing into the air. The princess, panting and exhausted, rushed to her father's side. She removed the witch's magic from him, and slowly he began to regain his strength. The kingdom was saved, and so the princess and her father lived happily ever after, the memory of their loved ones cherished and the evil witch vanquished for good. The princess had learned that even in the face of the darkest magic, love and courage could overcome any evil. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. See you next time everyone. Bye bye.